Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Mensur Pudic, and I am the founder of Simply Motivated. And today, my special guest, Danielle Matthews. How are you?
I'm good. Thanks for having me on today.
You're very welcome. I saw your story, and I know we exchanged some messages, and you went through a lot. And I wanted to bring you on my podcast and, talk about a little bit things that you've gone through and, the process sometimes that life takes us on.
It is a process. It's quite a journey, I'd say, that we're all on.
It is. We're all on that journey, though, and you've been a fighter, and your story can definitely relate to that. So, you were in a car accident 9 years ago, hit by a drunk driver, and I've lost quite a few friends that got hit by drunk drivers. It's something that I'm passionately against. Because it costs $5 to call an Uber, get a taxi, call a friend. And it's something that frankly just pisses me off because you have somebody that's not responsible or makes a bad decision. And then, that leads somebody else to getting hurt.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Well, I was going to say it's interesting because in hindsight, I think if someone had said this to me the day of my accident, I probably would have hit them. But I truly believe all things happen for a reason. And so I look back on that day and that man's choices, and I'm grateful because what happened that day set my life on a completely different track. And because of that, I've learned so much more about what I'm capable of, who I am, what I can accomplish. And I've inspired other people to do more and become more and tap into their inner potential. So it's fascinating. I think everyone kind of plays a role. And I don't know what wake-up call he got, if he got one after that day. I've never spoken to him, but I know it was that for me. And so I don't look back with bitterness, but I look back with gratitude.
And I think that's very important because we can't control the external factors, right? This happened to you. It is what it is. But you were able to get back up on your feet. It's been quite a long journey. How long were you out?
Yeah. So the day of my accident, what's amazing is I was able to walk out of the car. I walked away from the accident. My body was fine. The car hit me head on, headlight to headlight, which thankfully is the way a car is meant to take an impact. And so my body was okay, but my brain had, basically sloshed in my head, and I had tears to the myelin sheath, which we didn't know about until much later, because when they did the CT scan and they kind of looked at things, the imaging, I looked fine. And the problem was I wasn't feeling fine. I had intense migraines. I couldn't handle any sort of input. We're talking like even natural light bothered me, any sort of noise, concentrating. I had like 10 minutes in me, and then I was completely overwhelmed. I had to take a nap. I was basically sleeping about 18 hours a day.
Wow.
Very dizzy, and my personality had changed. I had been home at the time visiting family, and my mom was like, something's not right with her. She kept saying something's just not right, and I kept saying, I feel a little off, and doctors were telling me, oh, you're in shock, it'll wear off, it'll go away, give yourself a month. And it didn't. And so I wasn't able to go back to work, and I ultimately ended up losing my job. They put me on a leave for a little while, but after the leave, I still wasn't well. And doctors were telling me, well, maybe it'll be 3 months. And then they said, well, maybe 6 months. And at the end of a year, I literally sat in my neurologist's office, and he said to me, look, Danielle, with your type of injury, your body's done all the healing that it's going to do. And this is just your new normal. And you need to start adjusting your life around these symptoms. And I am so grateful that something in me, I think it was my higher self, honestly, but something within me just said, no way, you're fired. This is not going to be my life. And I just thought, we'll find another way. But I didn't. I'll tell you this, giving up's not an option. Something within me went, okay, but this isn't going to work, because for the whole year up to that point, I was going through severe panic attacks to the point where my whole body would go numb. I would start crying, and my shirt would be drenched. And I was having a lot of anxiety. I was severely depressed, and my life had ended, or so I thought, because I couldn't work. So I didn't have an income. So I ended up having to move back in with my parents, and I lost my independence. I was 23 when this happened. And I also lost all the things that I thought were important: the ability to hang out with friends, the ability to have fun, to go out at night, to snowboard, all these things that I thought were me. And at the end of that first year, I just went, okay, it's like new rules have been put on this game. And I said, I got to look at it as a game, because otherwise I'm not going to make it out of here. And I said, all right, new rules have been put on my game. These are things that I can't do that I used to be able to do. Fine. Let's focus on what I can do. And I just thought, let me find something every day that I can be grateful for and focus my mind on that. And I will tell you, it was so difficult. Sometimes I'm sitting here with a friend of mine. Sometimes it was literally that she called me to check in. How are you? And that was the only thing that made me smile that whole day. Sometimes it was just that I had strawberries that were delicious that I got to put in my salad. And that's what made me smile that day. And after the months that followed, after that appointment with my neurologist, something in me it started to shift. And all of a sudden I was looking at the world differently. I was calmer. My panic attacks went away. My depression lifted because my symptoms were still there, but I was able to just look at life differently. And I think a teacher of mine, painted this out perfectly. She said, Danielle, life is it's like an equation. She said, it's this external world, which if you actually break it down, you have, maybe control over 1% of it. 99% of what's going to happen in your life, you have no control over. And she said, it's that external world though, plus your internal response to it, that is going to create your reality. And she said, you just have to decide, and you get to decide. That's the empowering decision. What's your internal response going to be? And for a long time, my internal response was a victim. I can't believe this happened to me. Why did this happen? This isn't going to be my life. I can't go through with this. And then I just pivoted and went, you know what? No, I'm going to be grateful. I'm going to find things that I do love. I was able to hang out with my grandparents more, have conversations with them because they didn't mind sitting in a dark room, just talking. And so all of these things started to unfold that I never would have had the time for otherwise.
You were really resilient. And the part when you talk about, your inner self, that intuition kicked in. Mm-hmm. I talk to doctors, medical experts, it's medicine in practice. Sometimes my friends get mad because I tell them doctors don't know you like you know you. Mm-hmm. They might have the symptoms. They might know this. They might have done the studies. But that feeling and that emotion that's inside you, unless they're feeling it or a person's feeling it, they don't understand to the same capability of what is it actually that's bothering me. Why is this happening? And the thing is you were able to redirect yourself, and that's very important. Sometimes people are worried about speed, where they want to get there instead of the direction.
Yeah, it's true. Good way to put it.
I think they're both very important equally, but you can't have one without the other. Mm-hmm. if you're going speed and you're going in the wrong direction, that's not going to help you.
Yeah.
So you definitely want to have kind of a scope, a vision, a mission. What is it that you want to achieve? And I think with you and your situation, you had a lot of alone time to think, and your vibrations became so low that you did get depressed, you did get anxious, and the first thing what happens when people go through that, it's like you want to get out of your head, right? Exactly. You want to talk to people, you want to build a different perspective, you want to look at things differently, and congrats to you for being able to pull that off, because I've gone through some situations that it's very hard to explain to people because we don't even know ourselves. It's like, what the heck's happening? And we're trying to gather all these pieces and see which piece fits in this puzzle.
And it gave me an opportunity to know myself better. And like you said, what I realized is we are more than our thoughts. And in fact, we can impress new thoughts upon our own mind. So we started thinking and looking at the world in a different way. And it was meditation that really helped me realize that and experience this feeling of being more than my mind. It was a guided meditation called Yoga Nidra that I started doing. Yoga Nidra was designed by the yogis thousands of years ago for this single truth, to help people realize you are more than just your thoughts. And when you realize that, you can disidentify from them. And so meditation, and this guided meditation specifically, was designed to help you disidentify from those thoughts. So then you could start to create space. So you could decide to respond rather than react to all the stuff that's going on in life. And you can determine the person that you want to be, and you can start to bring that potential within you out. And I think, the other thing that has surprised me, just within myself that surprised me, is human potential. Each of us has so much potential within us. And I believe sometimes that seed of potential, it has to be in the right soil. And if it's not, it will never grow. And it's interesting because I never would have thought, literally years sitting, in bed with not much to do, not many people around. That was the right soil for me. And that's when I really started to learn who I was and what I was capable of. And yeah, the roots had to go pretty deep before anything, came up to the surface with that. It's been 9 years. And I'd say it's like now things are really even emerging more because that foundation had to be built of learning, well, who am I? What am I capable of? And what do I want to create? And as you said, the doctors, they know the physiology. They know what our systems, do traditionally, but our minds impact our bodies in a massive way. And so your emotional decision about how you're going to look at or identify with anything that's physically going on with your body makes a huge difference.
And that's true. We're chemical beings, right? You mentioned you were eating strawberries earlier. Strawberries gave you a certain sensation. Mm-hmm. It could have been part of it, the texture, the flavor, whatever it is. But your body responded to that. And it's like, hey, I like this. And that's why, some babies, when you give them food, babies can't reject it. So they'll start eating stuff. But, they get 7, 8, 9, 10 years old and you give them something, they can say, Mom, Dad, I don't want that anymore. Right? They have that. They're not in they're starting to get out of their programming, mm-hmm. even though they're programmed by the time they're 7. And how the mind works right now. And, it literally takes an impactful event to happen for some people to change.
Yeah.
That's just the way it is. It's it has to happen for them to build upon that. And you're right. Our mind, our brain, when we put new information in, we don't lose the old information. It piles on, mm-hmm. And go ahead.
Well, I was going to say Bob Proctor, what I love about some of the things he teaches, he says, like, in order to retrain your brain to have a different paradigm, right, a different habitual way of looking at things or acting, it's either a strong emotional impact, uh-huh. which is typically negative, or constant spaced repetition. And I obviously, my brain injury, that car accident, that was that for me. It reset everything. And I think, a lot of people look at traumatic things, quote unquote traumatic, and I believe now that nothing is really good or bad, right? Within the challenge is always the antidote. There's a reason you're going through it. And so you're getting served that lesson. I think about it like it's an obstacle course we're going through. And yes, it's hard, but the hard parts are when you actually learn the most. And I didn't know about this term until someone said to me, Danielle, what you had was called post-traumatic growth. And I went, oh, that is exactly what happened. And why don't we focus on that more, to show people that, wow, within that trauma, quote unquote, right? Because I don't think it's necessarily a bad thing. That's where I realized all the things that I have. And so many people go through so much, right? For me, it was like accident, but for someone else, it might be this pandemic I know has shook people in a really big way. It might be the loss of a job or the loss of a loved one, loss of their home, anything, something like that, seemingly tragic and very difficult. Really within that is a lesson that you can take, and it's going to make you strong for the rest of your life. When you realize what you can get through, it's like, you're bulletproof. I feel like nothing can be thrown at me because I'm like, oh, I got through a brain injury. Like, I'm going to get through this too.
And you have to think of it that way, right? I have a lot of friends, and, when I started my journey and when I was going through school and everything, I was so laser focused, just because my parents stay with me. I was so laser focused. It's like, I have to make sure that I can provide for these people, and I'm going to do whatever it takes. And a lot of people just didn't understand that, comments as he's arrogant, he's ignorant, he thinks he's better than everybody. It's like, it has nothing to do with you. Right. I am so focused on designing and building the best version on me. If you're not on board to help me get to my destination, you just cannot be in that circle, mm-hmm. And how the mind works. And, I think your viewpoint and everything changed, when you were alone.
Yeah, it did.
You were always used to being social, always going out with friends. You probably had a lot of friends, but now you were alone, and it's like, hey, I got to look out for me, mm-hmm. And the only thing, I think, the target that was in front of you was your life, especially with everything that you're going through. It's like, how the heck am I going to get myself untangled or through this puzzle and come whole again?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, which was quite an untangling. Absolutely. But it's like, you got to fall apart to fall together. Like, I never understood that sometimes, but yeah, it is what occurs. And I think there's always new versions of ourselves. We're always growing. We're always learning. We're always becoming. That's the point of life. if you're stagnant, I think things will start to build up in you, because there's this creativity within you, this potential within you that is seeking expression. And I truly believe we pull things into our lives. To me, it's like a magnet. Just it comes in, and if we're at a lower vibration, it's going to be things that are difficult because it's trying to give us the opportunity to step up and kick up and realize, no, we're capable of more. We can draw in positive things into our life, and you can get this success spiral up rather than, you see some people and it's just one bad thing after another. And I look at that and go, man, what I know could really help that person if they just need to realize that they can pull themselves out of it and they can start having that same spiral, take them up, which is what's happened after my accident, right? Because once I had that realization, I went, okay, let's play this game. And that's what it is. I mean, life is it is just a game. And when you look at it that way, you can take it all less seriously and just go, okay, I know my purpose in this is just to become more, to learn, to grow. And what experience is going to feed that for me today? And how can I?
And that ability to make decisions, right? We're so stuck in our habits that we turn ideas down. And the program that I'm launching is I work with clients, how to write goals, why to have goals, and tap into a different part of their mind that they never thought possible, because it does exist, like you say. And you can achieve anything you want. Back in the day, I used this example before, we didn't have internet, we didn't have computers, we didn't have the space shuttle. Everything was impossible. And then you have one person that had that vision, had that idea, had that fantasy, said, hey, I'm going to do it. Regardless if anybody's with me or not, I'm going to do this. And then there's still people out there saying, oh, I don't believe in all that. But there's people doing it.
Exactly.
It's like you're keeping yourself stuck in that one single thought. And, those low vibration, I always see it as stress, anxiety, depression, loneliness. Just because you don't feel like doing anything, if your energy is low or you're letting your thoughts just consume you, gosh, you don't feel like doing anything. And it's like, that's why they always say, go on a run, go on a walk, release those endorphins so you can get moving.
Yeah, and there's different things. Like the same for me, it was like, okay, what can I do? Because I was so restricted with my injury. It's like time in nature reset me nearly every time. Just sitting outside, a meditation would reset me. And the other thing was watching funny videos, finding something that would make me laugh, because laughter just has this beautiful way of pulling us straight out and reminding us of the joy of life, because joy is one of the highest vibrations. And so if you can get yourself into that space, I would save videos that I had made me laugh once, or somebody had sent to me, so that when I was in those dark spaces, there was enough of me that would remember, no, go over here. This is the time to do it. The time that you really don't feel like it, that's when you need it most. And those are just like the little things that got me through. And gratitude.
And I talked about gratitude today. It's very, very important. I always tell clients, think about the simple things that make you happy. Write it out on a piece of paper, and throughout your week, you will get tripped up. Life's going to happen. Something's just going to come from the side that we don't expect it. But if you have that on your list, you might not be able to anticipate everything exactly like it is, but if you have it on your list, you can kind of redirect yourself, because if you stay in that thought for 2 seconds, 10 seconds, you're going to go back to your habits thinking exactly like you thought before. I work at a corporate company, so when I sit in my job and I notice the stress or an email that I'm about to fire back or say something, should I, shouldn't I, and that thought goes through my mind, I get up out of my desk and I go get coffee. I learned, I'm like, how do I redirect myself? But not only do I go get coffee, it helps me recenter myself, right? Hey, am I taking this email personally? Am I going to send this email to the right person? So there's ways that you can go and find those habitual habits that we're constantly doing and say, okay, how can I change them so they're not always the same? Because we can learn, we can grow, we can develop, we can expand our mind, and we have all those capabilities.
Yeah. And it's amazing. I think, as soon as you can recognize it happening, that's like when the yogi said, like, it's that disidentification piece. When you can go, oh, look what just popped in. Like, that's my habit of not feeling worthy, or not feeling seen, or not feeling loved, or whatever it might be. And it pops up, it pops its head up at work, at home, in relationships, right, all the time. And when you can recognize it and go, oh, there you are, right? And let the feeling be there. but then decide how you want to respond in the new way, right? That's when you start to literally rewire the brain. That's when you start to create these new habits. And, all of us it's a constant work in progress. Like, our computers are programmed pretty well. So,
and we have the best computer on the planet.
We do. We certainly do.
When it comes to goals, a lot of people, and you probably know this, they aim low.
Yeah.
And it's like, hey, you're shooting yourself in the foot, because it takes the same amount of energy to think low as it does high.
Yep, it certainly does.
I've had clients say, well, not everybody can be a millionaire. Well, if that's your thought, then you ain't going to get there.
Exactly.
Because there's people that had that thought, I'm going to make it in a year, and they actually made it. And, when I started this business, I didn't get the clear picture of everything that I wanted, but I knew I had to start, because that process will build your blueprint. We're all different.
Yep. Martin Luther King has a quote. I share it all the time in my work. It's just like, you don't have to see the whole staircase. You just need to take the first step. And that's really what it's about, because until you get into action, the way the laws of this universe work, you're not going to see what you need. Nothing's going to come to you, because you have to move in the direction first. And if you don't move in that direction, of course, you're not going to see how to get, the full way. When you get on the road, I'm right off of I-70. I-70 here in the U.S. stretches from the East Coast to the West Coast. You can't see the whole thing when you start driving, but you trust that where your headlights are showing you right now, if you just stay in that direction, you'll eventually get where you want to go. And you go through all different terrain, all sorts of different rainstorms, snowstorms, whatever it might be, to get there. It's the same in life. You just have to trust, look, this is my intention. This is the path I want to take. And I'm going to just take the step. There's the question, I think it's Mary Morrissey. She always says, like, what can I do from where I am with what I have? You always can do something. And if you just keep asking yourself that, you can take that step. Okay, then once that's done, all right, now what can I do from where I am with what I have? And usually that step opened a door you didn't think of. And that's how it goes.
It's always the simplicity that works. And we tend to overcomplicate everything.
Oh, we totally do. Yeah, our minds are good at that.
It's like, go back to simplicity, and, deciding not to take action is a decision. Deciding not to change your state is a decision, and sometimes I find it funny, and not funny to laugh at people, but it's everything else's fault. Everything around me is a problem. And it's like, that's not how this works, right? We have something called perception, and we try to justify what's right, what's wrong, just by looking at things, observing things. Well, that's what my experience told me. Yeah, but your experience changes. Just like your body changes. It's not the same as it was last week. You're a little bit older now. Mm-hmm. Right? Yep. And it's like, we have the ability to build on what we have. And, as you went through your experience, what was one of the things, was it the medicine? There was a breakthrough or something that kind of, did it give you hope, or just open up your awareness to even more than where you were at while you were on this journey to find yourself, to recover, to get back on your feet and come whole again?
Well, it's interesting. People talk about the law of attraction all the time. And what I have now learned is that it's really the law of vibration. That's the primary one, which is the vibrational state that you set is going to attract in, like a magnet, the things there. And so when I had that reaction to my doctor where I said, no way, like, I didn't verbally say you're fired. In my head, I said you're fired. And then I walked away. But within me, I knew I'm going to get well. I knew it. Even though the prognosis was you won't, I knew I would. I didn't know how it was going to happen. And it's interesting because I didn't even see it when it crossed my path the first time. There was an acupuncturist that knew my family, knew my mom really well, and said, look, I've come across something in my practice. There's this new technology. It's helping every one of my clients in a different way. It just goes in and it stimulates the repair system to help with cellular repair in the body. And she said, it's the way that the body always does it. It's just as you age, you have less of these signaling molecules. And she said they figured out how to get it so you can drink it and put more in. And she said, I have every reason to think it could pass the blood-brain barrier and it could help Danielle. And so my mom, of course, went, oh my gosh, this is the missing link. She bought it, she brought it home, and my mind got in the way. The scientist in me, I went to the University of Virginia, I studied biology, and I went, well, show me the research, right? Give me what's too new? And she said, Danielle, I just intuitively, I know this is it. She said it's worked. Like, you've got nothing to lose here. And I couldn't get past my own mind. And I said no. And thank goodness, my mom started using it herself, and she had results with her joints. She had really a hard range of motion in her hands. She started using this. It started to repair her hands. So my dad started using it. I'm thinking still placebo, right? Like, our minds can totally play tricks on us. And my dad starts using it. He has results with an old knee injury, like 30-year-old knee injury. He's having more energy when he's working out, and he starts researching it. And he says, Danielle, this is a massive field of science, this redox biochemistry, redox signaling. And he said, this company just figured out how to get these molecules. They're the only ones in the world that figured out how to get them outside the body so you could put it back in your body and replenish your supply. And he said, I think it's the missing link. I want you to take it. And so it was only through both of them, like getting through this thick head, that I started to use this. And I started drinking just like 8 ounces a day. Nothing really happened at the beginning, but the third month, that pounding that had been in my head at that point for 2 years straight, without relenting, it stopped. And my ability to concentrate came back. Like, that fog I had been living in left, and I had energy again. And my cognitive therapist said to me, Danielle, I've been working with people with this type of injury for 30 years. And she said, never witnessed someone have such a rapid recovery so far out from the initial trauma. And she said, what is that stuff you started drinking? And I was like, man, I don't really know. But that moment was another inflection point in my life, because she was the catalyst for me to start researching this stuff. And I realized what it was and what it did and how it would help every individual differently. Because I had damage, in my brain. My parents had it in their joints. Each person has damage in a different space. Our immune systems are working against whatever our bodies are needing at that time. This just goes in and helps the system identify, kind of get the address, right, of where the issue is, and allow the repair systems to start going faster. And I thought, everyone needs to know about this. And it gave me, I realized that was what I was meant to do going forward. It gave me purpose. It made me realize, look, all of this that I went through has positioned me to help thousands around the world with their own health issues. And so I just started sharing my story. I started talking to people. And one thing led to another, We're now, fast forward almost 7 years. And my story has reached thousands of people around the world. I've been able to touch the health of people around the world. And then beyond that, I've now empowered other people to join in with this company and share the word about it. And so now they're realizing how much potential is within them. They're getting confidence within them. They're starting to create big goals, right? So they can start creating these dreams that they want. And it has just been such a phenomenal ride. And I sit back sometimes and I have to pinch myself. How did I get here? And it is not what I've chosen this path. I don't think so. Like, if I could go back to that moment, what I wanted to go through, all everything I went through, I mean, if you've given me the choice, I don't think I would have said yes. But here now, oh my gosh, yes. Are you kidding me? Yes. Like, what I get to do on a daily basis is phenomenal. I get paid in goosebumps.
You're a remarkable person, and you were fighting against a lot of different odds all at once, and you were able to piece yourself together, and a lot of people unfortunately go to life and, they don't fight the fight that's in them.
Yep.
They have that, they don't believe in themselves. And it's one of the things, our mind and our subconscious mind, whatever you feed it, it believes.
Yep.
Especially if you're conditioned over a long period of time, good, bad, or indifferent, whatever you're feeding it, it's believing it.
That's exactly right.
And it's like, why not put it on a better course, or why not change some of your thoughts so you can change some of your results?
That's exactly right. When I get online and I share videos, I always tell people, look, I see you, I believe in you, and you have a seed of potential within you. Let's just get it in the right soil so that it can grow and you can become your fullest expression, because that's what you're meant to be here for. And until you learn that lesson, challenge after challenge after challenge is coming your way, because it's opportunity after opportunity after opportunity to go, oh, I can get past this. Oh, look what's within me. And you need to be that stable datum for yourself, right? It's not, the answer's not out there. Someone's not coming to save you. Look in the mirror. That's the person that you've got. And so work on that.
And you're absolutely right. And I noticed as we exchanged messages, I knew right away, we can feel other people's energy,
mm-hmm.
And I'm like, this person, this individual their energy's high, and I can tell by the responses you were sending me. But I also knew in order for her energy to be this high at this level, she had to have gone through something that made her awareness go through the roof, that, you know, that she's responding the way she is. Right. And then I saw you on with Pratibha on Chai Together, and I'm like, I have to have this gal on my podcast because, you know, you're reaching thousands of people. Our goal is to make you reach millions of people, because I think that, you know, I love education, but education and experience is not the same thing. Teachers are teaching you what they know. They're teaching you how they know how to teach. You know, but you can put 100 different teachers in a room. They can teach it differently. They have different perceptions. They have, you know, they have different capabilities, different abilities, different ways they might present things. We're all different. You know, humans have the makeup, the DNA. We're all different, you know, and sometimes people, they want to go back on their experience. Well, I've done studies. I've done this. You know, you've done it yourself, but studies change over time. Technology changes over time. Medicine changes over time. You know, and it's very hard if we're programmed, you know, a certain way, that we really need something to kind of get thrown at us before we can, okay, hey, let me try something different here. This isn't working. Yeah.
I think there's a question that you can always ask yourself. What is this challenge making possible? And that's when you put that lens on it, when you have that perspective and you change and you go, what is this making possible? What's the lesson for me here? What can I learn from this? You start to look at it differently. So you're not butting heads with it, but you're opening yourself to it. And when that happens, ideas will flow. And that's really where you start to get creative. You start to realize what's within you. You start to then become all you're, you know, able to. And that inner potential that I always speak about and that each of us has, that's when it can really start to shine.
Very true. And, you know, words that we use, they send pictures in our mind before we even think about it. There's a picture. It flashes so fast and people are not even aware of it. But that's the psychology of our mind, of our brain. You know, we see something, there's a picture. That's why there's certain experiences. You know, you said we don't have good or bad memories. We have strong and weak memories, right? So if there's an emotional impact out there 5, 10, 15, 20 years ago, you're going to remember it. You know, it left a little code within you that, you know, and it's remarkable how we can develop through time, right? We can manage our experiences. We can go back. If you really close your mind through some instances, if you made some decisions, you can rewire how you see certain situations. Going back to that time, going back to that memory. It might not be 100% exact, you know, and you take accountability for what you did do, what decisions you did make.
Absolutely.
You know, and I think that that's a huge point, because then you can redirect yourself where you need to go for the things that you do want out of your life.
Absolutely.
You know, it's been a pleasure having you. You know, your story is remarkable. You're remarkable, especially going through what you've gone through, and, you know, the things that you're doing, inspiring people around the world. You know, I don't think there's a better feeling than that. And I think that's why we're in the business that we're in.
Absolutely. I couldn't agree more. And I hope that, you know, I have another excuse to cross the path of yours and everyone else on here. Thank you so much for having me and for letting me share. And I can't wait to see what continues to grow with you on the show and everything that you're bringing and the clients that you serve, Mentor.
Well, thank you so much. It's people like you that keep me going, because sometimes it's not a lot of people who you have with you. It's people who support you. It's that group that keeps you going, because they're on a mission themselves, right? They want to achieve goals and they believe in themselves, because a lot of people, or most people, don't believe in themselves. They're not going to believe in others, right? And you need to have people that are on a mission, that have a like-minded mindset, and those that want you to achieve, because that's what they want for themselves. It only makes sense to us.
Exactly right. That's, you know, that's the soil, right? It's having the right people around you, that environment you're creating, so that potential within you can start to grow.
Absolutely. Well, thank you again for coming on. We're definitely going to have you on again. Thank you for sharing your story, your experience, you know, and everything that you've gone through with us. And, you know, thank you to the audience that's been tuning in. Appreciate you guys, and we'll see you guys soon. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you. Bye, everyone.
Bye-bye.